then every day you've shown up. I understand the family's been here every day. I did notice that some days you're all dressed up and some days you aren't. And then today you're in full military gear, right? So,
I'm wearing my father's shirt.
right. I understand that, right? But that's not what the purpose of this is today, okay? It appears as if you're trying to make a statement.
I'm not making a statement. I'm wearing this because I wore this to my father's funeral. It is. My point
I understand.
Just tell me.
All right, well, I would like this. Change your clothes and come back.
Yeah, so that's the wildness that's going on right now, where you are seeing that a judge has ordered a combat veteran, served over 20 years, retired, a E7 Sergeant First Class, to not wear their military uniform with full ribbons, everything else, while they're in the court. Now, there are two sides of this. A lot of people are outraged about this, and I understand why, because if you've served, you should have the right to wear your uniform. But this is an interesting case and timing of the case because this deals with a trial, which is the ending of several people's lives. To be fair, I did not know about this, but this is for the person named Shelby Neely that was 32, and he was convicted and actually after this has been put on death penalty for his charges where he took the lives of his wife, 3 of her family members, and their dogs. What's hilarious about this is essentially his defense has gone on to the record saying that he should not be getting this because of the trauma and circumstances that are there. His attorneys argued that Neely's life should be spared in part due to the trauma he experienced in his youth. Prosecutors laid out their case, claiming Neely should be sentenced to death due to the severity of his crimes and his actions in the days and months after the murders. Has anybody not seen the movie John Wick? They've made 4 of them. You kill someone's dog, you're going to get the death penalty.
All right, so let me address the victim's family here. I understand why they're very frustrated, and it's because of the law, quite frankly. The state can only argue and only present evidence in regard to aggravating factors, and they're on one aggravating factor right now, which is basically cold calculated and they're premeditated. And then they have 3 more to argue. The defense, on the other hand, basically can say anything because almost anything except for public policy arguments can be mitigating circumstances. So I can understand how it can be very frustrating for the family because they can hardly say anything. They have given victim impact statements, and that's within the parameters of Payne versus Tennessee and all of the subsequent case law and the statute. And I know they're frustrated because the defense can basically say whatever they want, and they really can't say a whole lot, and the state really can't present anything more than aggravating factors or rebut mitigating the circumstances. So I understand their frustration. However, there will be a point, regardless of the verdicts, where they're going to be able to speak. And that's not yet, but it's going to happen. I'll allow them to speak. Now, the worst thing that can happen here is if we wait for this thing to go to trial for 6 years, which is a long time, and COVID was a part of that. Quite frankly, the Public Defender's Office had this case for a long time, and they sat on it and did nothing, and they refused to take any depositions because we weren't allowed to take depositions in person. They refused to take depositions by Zoom. Zoom was brand new. Nobody knew what it was. The public defender at the time refused to do any depositions by Zoom, and then, of course, eventually we got used to it, and now we're doing a whole lot of things by Zoom. But the worst thing that can happen is to wait around 6 years for this to finally happen. And then what if it does come back death and things are happening by the victim's family, which mandates that the case gets reversed and we're doing it again? That isn't in your best interest at all. Okay, now, I'm here refereeing not what the lawyers do so much, but what the victim's family is doing. And you don't want a record where some appellate court is going to say, this just doesn't seem fair to the defendant, and we're going to do it all over again. So in another 6 years, we're doing it again, okay? And it's not because the lawyers are doing anything improper or the witnesses, but it may appear to an appellate court that the victim's family is. So I have this request, okay? Don't be standing up, okay? Sit down.
So you can see this is preface that the judge is trying to essentially protect the case, which I do appreciate. And it sounds like they're getting some kind of deal out of this where they're like pleading guilty is what I'm getting out of this. But, you know, I understand protecting the integrity of the court, but the Sergeant First Class retired actually comes on and kind of explains why he wants to wear the uniform on this specific day. And apparently this has been an issue even before this, not just the specific day where they are looking at having a verdict or whatever come out of the situation.
The purpose of this is today, okay? And we don't want a situation where it appears as if you're trying to make a statement.
I'm not making a statement. I'm wearing this because I wore this to my father's funeral. He did this. So my point
I
is,
understand.
if you want me to leave, just tell me.
All right, well, I would like this, okay? Here's your three choices, okay? Change your clothes and come back, or I don't have a problem if you sit in the third row there behind those big guys, okay? And so you're less conspicuous, okay? Or,
I've had 7 surgeries and I have to move around. That's why I stand up.
okay, yeah.
He has been standing.
Yeah, he has been standing a lot. I've been noticing that, so.
This is discrimination.
So you can see, I don't know who the lady is next to him that's trying to defend him wearing this uniform, but 5 combat tours to Iraq, 7 surgeries that have gone on. The guy's obviously there in support. I've never heard of this being an issue where people can't wear a military uniform. Like, if you look up the regulations, it's essentially like for funerals, weddings, you know, things like that, that you can wear this, and military functions. Now, it doesn't mention being in a courtroom, but it's always known that wearing a dress uniform essentially is like the most respect of the respect that's out there. It's like kind of wearing like a business suit, if I could put that kind of comparison that's out there. So, you know, I understand in the same regard, there is a lot of connotation that goes with the positives of the military, where people are like, you're making a statement saying that essentially like integrity, pride, country, all these other things. But at the same token, you know, there are people that could also see this as negative as well and saying like, we see right through this. They don't like the military or whatever else. And it devalues what the purpose of this is. So it's hard to say which way the jury could be swayed of this. And it's hard too, because like there is the freedom of speech kind of side of this, of where like, how much can you dictate? Like, is the judge dictating what color shirts people wear or whatever else? Like, we know there's psychology behind this between what colors people wear in courtrooms and things like that as well.
This is not the freedom that we fought for.
Well, it's not. We don't want, I'm sure you don't want to risk having this case reversed, right? You don't want to do that.
The prosecution's closing because of the clothes that people are wearing.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is not unusual, okay? I mean, we've had cases where people have come in with T-shirts that have the victims' photos on them or faces on them, okay? You can't do that, okay? We've had police officers who have been the victims on death penalty cases, and then a whole bunch of police officers came in uniform. You can't do that either, okay? So I'm just trying to protect this case, which is in your best interest, okay?
What you're saying is what we wore, all of us, to our father's memorial service cannot be worn today.
Well, you can wear that. There's no problem with that. Richard can wear that. There's no problem with that. All right? But it just seems like that he's just trying to make a statement somehow with wearing his military uniform. Right now, maybe he's not, okay, but it's not the intent, it's the appearance, okay? So that's why if he wants to change, that's fine. If he wants to sit in the third row, that's fine. If he wants to leave and watch it on streaming or whatever, that's fine too. But let's not risk the whole case. I mean, people have put in way too much work on this thing, right? And you've gone through enough grief on this whole thing where you don't want to have to do it again, right? Because of something like that. Okay? You will have an opportunity to speak. You can wear whatever you want. You can say whatever you want, but today's not the day for that. Today's the day to make sure that there's no issues with the case. And I've been working really hard to make sure there's not an issue here. All right? So that's all I ask, okay? Is just like everybody else, you sit and you listen. Okay, well, the third row, okay? I think we have like 10 rows here, okay? So the third row, that's not that far back, okay? And he'll just be behind a couple big guys back there. Or he can change, or if he wants to watch on streaming, that's fine too, okay? And then after that, after we're done with the verdicts and everything, then you can wear whatever you want. It's a totally different story, because obviously I'm not going to be influenced by anything, but we want to make sure that none of the jurors, we're going to have 12, we have 14 now, we're going to have 12, you don't want an argument that one of them was influenced by something that the victims are doing, or the victim's family's doing. Yes?
The other thing I'll say is, with factors of picking jurors and things like that, essentially they have to rule out bias as much as possible. That was not part of the vetting process. I doubt the defense was able to be like, oh, are you military affiliated or something like that as a factor for this. So I understand the defense side of this not wanting that to happen because it is a variable that they don't want going against their client. Because obviously, as I stated previously, they're not wanting the death penalty. They are wanting him to still be able to survive and rot in jail. But this could have a factor to that.
Judge, the only problematic thing I see with him sitting with his uniform in the, well, I mean, he shouldn't have worn it in the first place, but what I see problematic about him sitting in the third row is that he has to apparently get up all the time, which we've all seen that, but he's been in regular clothes. So if he's not, if he's having to get up and he's going to decide when he wants to get up and sit down and get up and sit down, then I'd ask that he leave in his uniform and, like the court said, change and come back. And if he can't change for some reason, the other day when he was going to wear his military uniform, he was going to bring extra clothes in case he wouldn't allow it. But if he doesn't have that here today, then I'd ask he be excused if he's going to keep getting up in that uniform and watch it online.
All right, and there was no discussion with me about him possibly wearing a uniform, but apparently there was with the lawyers previously. Is that right?
And I do have to wonder about this because, like, say, for example, somebody was disabled or had crutches or had a walker or whatever. Like, the defense, I understand their point being the fact that this guy is getting up, walking around, could be distracted. But I'm like, you essentially are infringing on someone's abilities at that point. You know, we talk about being ableist as the current standing. But, you know, I'm like, if that's the case, anybody that has any health issue could be a distraction from what's going on.
He
Yes.
had originally indicated that he wanted to make his impact statement in his uniform because of he had worn that to his father's funeral, and he felt that his father was a big reason why he was successful in the military. We had discussed that with defense counsel. We alerted them to the fact that he wanted to do that so it could be addressed before the court, before there was anything, before the jury. And then when we came here that day, he had independently elected not to wear it. So it was not an issue that we had to bring up.
Well,
But it was an issue that we disagreed about.
in addition to alerting us, they said he will be downstairs. He'll be away from the jury until it can be addressed.
And he will bring extra clothes.
Last Thursday.
All right. So, I mean, he has been standing and walking around throughout the whole trial, but it hasn't been a distraction. I haven't noticed anyone watching him doing it, and apparently I guess he has to do it for medical reasons or for physical reasons, right? So, all right, so I'll have to rule on this, and this is really for their benefit, which is he's allowed in the courtroom, he's allowed to walk around because of his physical issues, but it's not going to be in uniform, okay? So bailiffs, if you can make sure that happens, okay? That, if he comes in, that's fine. If he needs to walk around a little bit. And again, this is our biggest courtroom. This is a really big courtroom. And if he's walking back there, I don't think it's anything that's going to distract the jury. I don't think it's been distracting the jury so far.
So obviously this has led a lot of people in the court of public opinion, which we understand is different than regular court where people have their day, where a lot of people are speaking out against this, and they're essentially saying that they're very upset that the judge would order a combat veteran of 20 years, E7 Sergeant First Class, to take off his uniform in the courtroom. So this person, Chris Holloway, says, "You wear that uniform loud and proud. You earned it, as we all did that served. That judge has lost his flipping mind." Someone below that says, "Shame on that judge. This man earned the right to wear that uniform anywhere he wants. Judge needs to be reprimanded." What do you guys think about this Sergeant First Class retired that has essentially been ordered not to wear the military uniform? Because I think this is a slippery slope, as, you know, maybe the family could come out if they wanted to, you know, do something legally against this judge. I have no idea what their rights and responsibilities are for that. I'm not a lawyer, but if there's a lawyer that wants to talk about it, love to hear it. But as always, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below.